Hi, my name's Andrea King. I'm the COO of Retellio. I've been to 60 countries, I've worked in 25 countries, and I have never checked a bag.
So, Andrea, you've had such a diverse professional background, which has taken you from international finance and media and retail for women's clothing. Can you tell me a little bit about that journey?
I started out in international finance, so I worked with the World Bank and the European Bank. And what's great about those organizations is that they cover the whole world and they're run by governments. And so you are kind of working with companies in the private sector all across the world. And so I got to travel a lot and see operations and strategy from like a really huge organization. Then did a huge pivot and moved to being a mom and having my own business. So decided to start a retail store in Vermont. So it's the complete opposite of an international organization, but there aren't any of those in Vermont. So that seemed like a good option. And that was really fun because I got to do all aspects of working and running a company. So everything from, finance to HR to operations and sales and marketing. And it was really rewarding and scary. Then, switched to running a media company. So there's no real themes, but I think the important part is learning what you can from each experience and just being comfortable with those kind of changes along the way. And then brought that to Verafin, and then now doing another big change and starting a tech company in Newfoundland.
And so when you moved back to Newfoundland and Labrador, so you moved back to St. John's and started working with NASDAQ Verafin. And I mean, NASDAQ Verafin, for anybody who works in the tech sector, knows that was one of the first unicorn, I guess, in the province, and a huge deal to be sold for $2.75 billion. And I think anybody who's in the tech sector had, secondhand pride. Like, this is something exciting and amazing. I know that you had the opportunity to work as, the head of strategy as well as government relations. From the inside, I guess, how do you think that's success? What did that look like? How do you think that affected the Newfoundland and Labrador tech ecosystem?
That's a great question. So I joined Verafin a year before the NASDAQ acquisition.
Yeah.
And so I feel like when I first started, I think there was maybe 600 or 700 employees, and now there are over 1,000. So just the growth alone is amazing. For the ecosystem, I feel like that huge deal just gave all of the entrepreneurs here this just instant, like, it can happen here. Like, and just in talking to different entrepreneurs, you really can see it. Yeah. It's like, oh, it's not this dream that's impossible. And you really do need to see things like that to know that they're possible.
Absolutely.
So I feel like that is probably the best aspect of that deal.
Is like inspiring, and inspiring other folks. That's wonderful. And what was I don't know how much you can go into your experience there, but how did you find, I guess, bridging your previous experience and bringing that further into, fighting financial crime? How do you think your previous background set you up for that?
So when I joined Verafin, in my interview, when we were talking about like what I bring to the table, I said, oh, well, I think, media relations and government relations are really where my experience is best. And at that time, they didn't do those two things very much. So I ended up running some operational teams there. And so I oversaw like project managers, the customer marketing, training teams. So I think my experience of having been CEO of the media company, where you just do whatever you have to do and you figure it out, I think that served me well at Verafin. Then when they started the crypto team, the new markets team, again, I was like, oh, I'm happy to jump on board and help out there. So I think having those very diverse, almost random experiences set me up to just be successful there, because I was happy to learn something new, jump in, and wasn't afraid of not knowing how to do something.
I love that. I feel like that's a lesson for, for anybody who thinks like, why would I do that? That's not my background. That's not my experience. I feel like there's, at least from your experience, there's so much to be learned in everything. And it's not random once it's all, when you see the bigger picture, I think down the road.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Like just being open to taking chances. Like Verifim is really good at allowing people to try different roles and different things within the company. And I think that just makes it a stronger company and makes all of the employees that much better, because you have different perspectives and you end up knowing different people from different teams. And so then you're just going to build a stronger culture that way.
Yeah. One of the, I guess, challenges as well is within the tech ecosystem is getting access to investment and funding as well. And, being able to get access to that. So I know that you are one of the managing partners of the Women's Angel Fund here. Could you tell us a little bit about what was the Women's Angel Fund and your involvement with the fund?
Yeah. So, Sandpiper Ventures with Kathy Rhiannon and Sarah. So they spotted the issue of just like there's amazing women founders, and they have even less access to financing than male entrepreneurs do. So they started Sandpiper, and they quickly saw that there's some really great companies that are not necessarily venture ready, but they're really great companies, and they needed support. So they didn't want to just, tell them to go off on their own until they were ready. Like we were really trying to think about how we can support them. So they started a foundation called the Atlantic Women's Venture Foundation, which I was on the board of, which I still am on the board of. And our job was really to figure out, like, what do you do with companies that are not venture ready yet, but still need some support? So one idea was like to figure out how to map all of the different support programs in the provinces. And so we started talking to them, and it became very evident that the biggest hurdle was funding, like just money. There's so many training programs and incubators and accelerators and advisory programs and mentorship. So there's a lot of that. But really, sometimes you just need $20,000, go figure it out, and you'll learn. If you fail, you're still going to learn so much from having the chance to do something. So then we figured we needed to start an angel fund. So we spoke to a couple of different angel funds across Canada, and the Women's Equity Lab, based out of, I think they started in BC. Yeah, and then they've got 6 or 7 chapters now. Was so easy. Like it's almost like an angel fund out of the box. Like they help you with the legal aspects, all of the founding documents. It was really simple for us to set up and launch here. So we just found 4 women who wanted to be managing partners. So it was me, Lori McKeegan, Lauren Ledwell, and Catherine Lockhart. So we had one person in each province because we wanted to stay connected to people too and try to do it in person. So I think it was maybe within like 4 months, we had 38 investors. And it's a small amount of money. It's $5,500 to invest. So it's not, it's not a small amount of money, but it's not a huge ask to become an angel investor. And we would offer training to people who were new to investing, because the idea was not only to invest in women-led startups, but to also create this new group of investors, right? Like we wanted to have more women investors locally. So that was great. So we raised, it was $190,000 for the first fund, invested in 4 women-led businesses here. And that fund just closed. And so they are launching Fund 2 now. And that one was even easier to raise money for. And so had 50 women investors. So raised $250,000 to, and I think they're kicking off in 2 weeks' time.
Okay. So what did you love most about being an investor?
So actually, it's funny. Somebody asked me what I wanted to be or where I saw myself in 10 years.
Yeah.
That was a few years ago. And I said, I just want to be an angel investor, but I didn't have enough money because you actually, to be an investor full time, that does require more money than I have. So my favorite part is just listening to pitches. I could listen to pitches all day long, all week, every day, all week, because it's so fun to just hear the enthusiasm and the vision and the excitement in what somebody wants to build.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing better than seeing that play out. And because we only started this last year, we haven't had the chance to see kind of how they've progressed and what they did with the money, because it's still pretty new. But I think that initial excitement from entrepreneurs is magical.
It certainly is. So I understand that you're taking that magic to your kids as well. So do you chat about Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so this summer has been huge. So when I was growing up as a teenager, if I wanted money, which all teenagers do, my dad would just say like, "Oh, I've got this great business idea you could do." And I'd roll my eyes and be like, "Oh, just give me the money now. Like I just want a pair of jeans," or whatever it was. And now I find myself, I say that to my kids all the time. And they've had a couple of successful stories. They did this little sea urchin business where they sold ornaments that they made at markets. And they actually did pretty well. They made a couple of $1,000s one Christmas.
Wow.
And it ruined them for like, I'd be like, "Oh, it's $10 to go clean the bathroom." And they would be like, "Oh, I got my own money now.
Got my sea urchin money." That's awesome.
But then this summer, my daughter is launching an entrepreneurship summer camp. And so she's partnered with the Munn Center for Entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And she did all of the she built the website. She managed all of the registration forms and Facebook ads. And she's got 50 kids signed up for these
That's amazing.
2 weeks. And she just posted at Munn to hire counselors because she's not going to actually teach the camp. She's just going to be the CEO. So, that's an amazing thing. And the whole goal is to build more entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
So
get them at a young age. So you must have come from an entrepreneurial family.
So my dad ran the Genesis Center for a long time. And my brother is John King with Milk Movement.
Okay.
And my other brother, Stephen, hasn't started his own business yet, but I'm sure it's just a matter of time.
I think your family dinners would be very interesting. I think everyone can kind of join and hear other potential business ideas that could be.
Or you could just go to the camp.
Or yes, go to camp. Well, Andrew, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing all of your different experiences. And we're really excited to hear about Retellio and what happens next on your journey.
Thank you so much. This was really, really fun talking to you.